Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Old B's server hates young people and calls me a child unprompted. Still expects a tip and storms out of the restaurant when she doesn't get one. The second story. A woman tries to take my stuff away from me for her child. Then she accuses me of assault and threatens to fire me because her husband is the manager. I was promoted and the manager divorced her. The third story is, the CEO promised me a raise if I completed the project myself. I worked 80+ hours a week, and when I came to ask for it, he said I wasn't promised anything. I quit and it cost the company $500,000, and the project ended up failing. The first story is, I tipped everyone but her. This happened sometime last summer. My husband and I are 19 and 20. We're young and we look young, but we tip well and act like adults. Usually. We had just got home from our honeymoon, but still had a few days before going back to work, and wanted to have lunch at a place that we frequented regularly. We usually went there at night, 24-hour diner, so we were more familiar with the night staff. This particular afternoon was pretty slow. It was a Tuesday around 3 p.m., so there were only 2 servers working. We were one of 3 tables in the restaurant. The diner is set up like an open train car, so there really isn't any place you can't see besides the kitchen. Everything is out in the open. So we sit down and get our menus. About 10 minutes go by before our server shows up to ask our drink orders. This is odd because again, it's not busy. She was clearly in her late 40s, and we had never seen her before. We told her our drinks and that we were ready to order as well. Her face immediately turned sour for some reason. She said she would get our drinks first and then come back for the orders. Okay, odd, but not super weird. She walked to the bathroom and didn't come back for 10 minutes. During this time, another couple was sat behind us. Before she brought us our drinks or even took our order, she greeted them, an older couple, and was the sweetest waitress you'd ever meet. She was incredibly nice to them. She eventually brought all our drinks at the same time. When we finally gave her our order, she looked at me with disdain and said, "What do you want?" It was so blatantly rude, like we were a waste of her time. I ordered a meal and asked for the child's size because it's a more reasonable portion, and the adult size is huge. I order the same meal every time I go in. Well, she wasn't having it and very loudly said, "Oh, we only do kids' orders for children. Are you under 12? I was livid. What did I do to this woman to cause a reaction? I told her to bring me the regular-sized order in a to-go box. She said she would make an exception and bring the kid's size, but it would be the adult price. No, lady, I'm not paying the same price for less food. So she writes down both our orders very huffy, and then goes to take the other table's order. I assume she put the orders in at the same time. 20 minutes later, the other table, who ordered steaks, receives their food and we still have nothing. At this point, we had been there for almost 40 minutes. We ordered a grilled cheese and pancakes. Clearly something didn't add up. We watched our server sit down and talk with the other table behind us for like 15 minutes, while our food sat there under the hot lamp. At that point, I was done being nice, and I walked behind the counter to get our food, but we didn't have silverware. I tried to get her attention. She ignored me. 5 minutes later, she walks by and says, "You need something?" Yes, silverware. She drops it off and says nothing. We eat and the table behind us eventually leaves. Now, we've been here for well over an hour. The server dropped the check without asking if we wanted dessert. She goes and sits in a booth adjacent and just stares at us, waiting for us to walk up to the checkout. But we don't. We have all day. 20 minutes go by. My husband looks at her and she still doesn't come over to say anything. He even refilled his own coffee. At this point, we can tell her shift is over because she's complaining loudly to a coworker that she just wants her tip so she can leave. Another girl, a server who we recognize, comes to tell us she'll take over until we decide to leave, and mentions that other server is cashing in to leave for the day, meaning she wants her tip. We told her that our server wasn't getting SH, and that she can tell her that I said she can eat SH for the way she treats customers too. My husband said I was way too harsh, but I was super peeved. I then made sure to give $15 to the girl who just took over and said, "I know you'll take care of us." Well, as I mentioned before, this place is an open setup, and she totally heard and saw what I did. She said something to a coworker and then stormed out of the restaurant while giving us a nasty look. I don't know if she was being SH to us because we were young, or she thought we wouldn't tip anyway. I work in the service industry and usually tip 20% plus. Or maybe she didn't like the way we look. Yellow hair and stretched ears. The weirdest thing is that this place is right next to the college, so young people and students are there all the time. Anyways, I've never had a worse experience. I tipped the new server and the host and busser on my way out. I also called the manager, who we knew very well. The next time we went in there, she was gone. Fired 2 days later. I hate it when people think that you don't tip because you're young. I'm 22 and I always tip 17 to 20% because I know what a hard job it is to be a service staff. And when this staff, even at the end of their shift, does everything to make you like it here, not to give a tip is just a shame. But such people think that you will not tip because you're young, so they give you poor service. Although in fact most often do not give tips, these be ladies of unknown age called Karen. These ones will complain that all the dishes were not like that, but of course they ate everything and will not pay at all. So this woman waitress was a real B. You did the right thing to call the manager. She definitely didn't deserve anything, and deserves to be fired because she ruined everything. The second story is, EM caught on camera loses child custody. This happened about 4 years ago. I was 21 at the time. I worked in a tire factory and it was a pretty sweet deal. Check in, do your job, check out, no mess. We'd take short 20-minute breaks every 3 hours or so. One time after going out for some fresh air, I was trying my then recently purchased Arctic Laser when I noticed there's a mother and son of about 8 years of age and somewhat 20 yards away. The kid runs at me and says, EK, hey mom, look, it's Laser. Can I try? EM, sure, go ahead, while getting closer. Me, no, not really. This is actually dangerous. It even has a child-proof system. EM, what? Aren't you a little old to be playing with lasers? Just give it to him and stop being selfish. M, my age isn't relevant to this discussion. I won't give anything to your kid. She goes crazy and interrupts. EM, I don't care. Listen here, you little SH. Who do you think you are to say no to my boy? Me, ma'am, it's actually for his own safety. This is very dangerous. EM then tries to grab and take it from me. EK starts kicking. I then push him away so he stops, but he immediately starts crying. EM, see what you did? You just hit my kid. The security guy occasionally passes by, and EM throws a fit. EM, call the police now. I want to press charges. He molested my kid and stole his laser toy. Guard, I saw the whole thing from a distance. This is not his toy. May I ask why you're here in the factory grounds anyway? EM, my husband, manager's name, is the boss. I'm gonna have both your A's fired by tomorrow. I'm also having you jailed for stealing my son's property and hitting us. She then rips one sleeve of her blouse and messes her hair, and calls someone. EM, manager's name, honey please, come help me, I'm so scared. One of your employees just stole from EK's name and assaulted us. Screams pretending I'm doing something to her. Let me go, I'm so scared, please, come quick. This whole time the security guard just looks astonished, and when her husband comes he explains. SG, hey sir, I was here the whole time and he did not hurt your son or wife in any way. Manager, well, are you sure? Look at how she is. SG, I'm positive. Still, if you want to confirm, we can look at cameras B2 and B7, as they surveil specifically this area. Manager, okay, I'd like to see him. At the moment, EM realized she was being filmed the whole time. She tried getting out of it, trying to defuse her husband's willingness to see the tapes. EM, you know what, honey? We better just leave it at that. Can we just go home? I'm exhausted and don't want to extend this any longer. Me, I urge you to see the tapes, as the accusations your wife made are very serious. Manager, yes, we should see the tapes. After seeing the tapes in private, the manager profusely apologized and decided to promote me one level up. He said he had an idea that it was a lie, because she was a diagnosed sociopath and mythomaniac. After a week or so, he confessed to me that that was the last he could take from her, and that he was divorcing her and requesting full custody of the child she was unstable and unfit to raise a child. In the process of divorce that happened during the course of the next couple of months, the manager discovered she was cheating on him with her coworker. Also, somehow figured out what my number was, and called to apologize. She said she was trying to get back to her family, and regretted doing what she did. I told her to go F herself. Poor manager. You could see he was a good guy that just happened to have bred the wrong crazy lady, and was paying for this bad decision. Holy SH, the lengths some entitled person would go to for some pity points. But, you know, all you have to do is just say surveillance video. Any entitled person. How about forgetting about it, knowing they screwed up big time? Or if they're smug, yeah sure, show the tape and make sure I'm innocent. When they get caught, the entitled person, they're lying, I'm innocent. So typical and stupid. Too bad about the manager. How he lived with her before this, I just can't imagine. Very glad that UOP got promoted, and that your manager finally got rid of his marriage to this woman. And thanks for teaching me a new word, mythomaniac. D, sounds like me half the time. And the last story is, I cost my ex-employer $500,000 and 2 years of productivity over a $40,000 a year raise. Years ago, I worked for a small 30-employee emergency telecommunications company in Western Michigan for $80,000 a year. The company hired me to help make a new embedded Linux product with an IP camera. For a year or so, all was going well, until a coworker's dad had a stroke, and he had to resign during the middle of the project. The coworker also happens to be my longest-lasting friend. Upper management's first reaction when they heard about my friend's dad's stroke wasn't, "Is his dad okay?" It was, "Can you finish the project without him?" Mistake 1. I should have quit right then and there. But I was young and naive. Instead of quitting, I asked for a $40,000 raise to cover the added responsibility of being the sole engineer on an entire project that could have made the company millions. Mistake 2. The CEO, David, told me he would give me the raise once the product was released. I did not get this in writing. Good God, I was dumb. Mistake 3. I continued to work longer and longer hours. For over 6 months, I worked 80+ hours a week. I was there at 4:30. And I left Adder later than 20. My marriage suffered and I became a zombie and depressed, but I was naive enough to try and climb the corporate ladder. I had enough at the 6-month mark, and I went to the CEO and demanded my raise right then and there. He looked at me and said, "What raise? I never promised you a raise. We're trying to cut costs to increase their EBITDA. I could replace you in 2 weeks. I'm not too fond of the very sound of that acronym now." I immediately started to look for new jobs and found one within 3 days that was fully remote and paid $120,000 a year. I put in my 2-week notice, and in my resignation email I specifically stated that this is more than enough time, as David said he could replace me in 2 weeks. The panic that ensued was fantastic. Immediately they had to hire a third-party engineering company to finish the project, which ran around $500,000. After that, it took them over a year to find a replacement for me, and he left within a year. I later messaged him on LinkedIn, and he said the company had gone to SH, and they continually blame me for the failure of the product. The company hasn't made a single post on social media in almost a year, and they haven't pushed any updates to any of their products in about the same amount of time. Bonus things about my insane time at the company. The CEO looked at me once and said, "The owner understands sacrifice. He had to sell his summer home." The CEO also went from a fairly reasonable guy to a straight-up lumberjack-looking crazy born-again renting madman with a huge beard. Know your worth and quit early. Raises are a scam, and companies would much rather cut off their nose despite their face. If you're doing extra work, you will be noticed, but not for a promotion. You taught the employer that you will do extra work for nothing. No job is worth your health or your family. Friend's dad edit. He lived. The tough as nails B spent 3 days on the floor before a neighbor found him on the brink of death. My friend moved to the Bay Area for a year and took care of his house, finances, and physical needs while he recovered. He still has trouble fully forming sentences and doesn't have fine motor skills anymore, but he can walk, talk, dress, and bathe himself now. My friend's dad having the stroke made my friend reevaluate how hard he had been working and decided that familia should always come first. D, man, that sucks. I'm sorry you had to go through that. You were really stupid and naive to take that SH, and you shouldn't have given him 2 weeks notice. You should have just quit on the spot. But I'm glad you quit. And oh, what a bombshell for that CEO. He deserved it, stupid B. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and have a good day.